All right, so lesson 75 here. See how Jesus is nailed to the cross. He's been condemned by Pilate. He's told the Jews to do with him as they like. So let's actually start in Luke chapter 23. We'll be doing some jumping around through the Gospels here, but we'll start at Luke chapter 23. So Jesus was mocked, scourged, made fun of by Pilate and the Jews and the leaders. They put a crown of thorns on his head. His backside was whipped. Purple robe was put upon him. Slapped him, beat him, spit upon him. Now it's time to go to bring him to where he will be crucified on the cross. So chapter 23, starting at verse 24 there. Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. So they required that he die. Crucify him, they chanted. And he released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired. Who's that, Logan? Nope. I'm sure you're following along, paying attention there. Garrett? Barabbas. Okay. Barabbas was released, but he delivered Jesus to their will. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Cyrenian, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. So we can imagine someone had constructed those crosses beforehand. Maybe they even had a place where they were all ready and prepared, because we know how many people are going to be hanging on crosses up on that hill. Garrett? Maybe 3. Maybe they had a bunch ready-made, holes in the ground already dug that they just had to get the person on that cross, and then that cross would drop down into the hole. So maybe they're probably pretty prepared for this. Maybe this is a regular occurrence for them to crucify someone this way. So they have Jesus carry his own cross. He begins to carry it. With the long night, with all of the stress, he becomes weak and weary. And so he cannot bear that cross anymore. He can't carry it. Instead, they call him, what's the guy's name, Joe? Simon, a Cyrenian. And he continues to take it the rest of the way. Okay. So, we see here that Jesus is already physically and earthly, he's beaten. Okay. His body is being destroyed. Let's go on and see what happens next there. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. Okay. So that's probably, well, who's in that crowd of women? We know later we get some names, but so let's see what we know already. Who's probably in that crowd, following, lamenting and wailing and weeping? What women are his friends? Mary? Which Mary? Garrett? Mary Magdalene, there's a Mary. Micah? Mary, his mother. What other woman do we know? Yep, Mary, the sister of Martha, so probably Martha. So there's a bunch of women who are following after, weeping and lamenting here. Okay? And so they're taking him to the place of the cross. What's it called? The place of the skull. How'd you look that up? Kenton? Golgotha. All right, so let's skip over to John chapter 19. John chapter 19, we'll start at verse 17 there. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place which is called the place of the skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him and 2 other with him on either side, and Jesus in the midst. Okay? So now we know there are 3 men being crucified. Jesus is in the middle. The 2 other men are on either side of him. What are their crimes? Again, why are they there? Why are they being hung on the cross? What sin have they committed? Kenton? Thieves. Okay? They're thieves. And so, we pick it up there then. Verse 19, and Pilate wrote a title, so a sign, and put it on the cross. And the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, which means nearby. You would pass by this place on your way into the city, and it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Why those three languages? Garrett? The Jews would speak which language? Joe? They speak Hebrew. The Romans, what language would they speak? Kimberly? Nope. Latin. The Greeks would speak the Greek. The Greeks had been a world power, and many people had spoken Greek, but now the Romans are in control, and the Roman language is Latin. So the words are written in those three languages. The Greek, so that most people could read it. The Hebrew, because all the Jews could read it. And the Latin, so that all the Romans could read it. Okay? So those three languages. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, so they see the sign and they complain, write not the King of the Jews, write that he said, I am King of the Jews. So don't put up there Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. They want him to put Jesus of Nazareth, who says he's King of the Jews. Okay? Because it looks like the Jews are crucifying their own king. That's going to look bad. If they say the man who says he's King of the Jews, well, then that will look good in front of the Romans. They'll say, oh, well, good for these people. They got rid of this guy who kind of made himself a king. And okay? I like Pilate's answer. Pilate answered, what I have written, I have written. He's not going to worry about these rulers and leaders. Verse 23, then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, so after they nail his hands and his feet, and they tip that cross up there, so now the full weight of Jesus is sagging. You can imagine your hands with a nail put through them, and now all your weight is pulling down on those nails. It's going to tear the flesh of your hands and cause extreme pain. So he's tipped up there onto that cross. The cross is lowered into that hole that's probably always there for these crosses, so that now Jesus' body hangs there on that cross. All the gravity of earth is pulling his physical body down, causing him pain and suffering. So then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments. So they probably left him with nothing but a small wrapped around his cloth wrapped around his middle. They took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part. So they ripped up each soldier that was there guarding got to have a piece. And also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from top throughout. So they couldn't just tear that as easily. They said, therefore, among themselves, let us not rend it. We don't want to ruin this nice piece of clothing, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be. Okay, so they decide, well, we don't want to rip this and ruin this. Let's throw 4 stones into a bag. The man that pulls out the black one, he gets to have the coat. Or the man that pulls out whatever system they had rigged up there. And then the following words are not words that the soldiers were thinking. These are not words that the soldiers said, but this is John reminding us here of an earlier passage in the Scriptures, that the Scripture might be fulfilled, which saith, they parted my raiment among them, and for my vesture they did cast lots. These things, therefore, the soldiers did. Okay? So the soldiers there, they begin to do that. We know also from other Scriptures, Jesus, for his pain, they took a long reed. Okay? I'm trying to think what it's called, hyssop. But anyways, they mix some vinegar with a gall. What is gall? I put that on your sheets there. What was gall, Megan? All right, a bitter type of liquid that can help dull the pain as one died. And so they reached up there a long hyssop branch so that there was some way that Jesus could have that. But Jesus refused it because he needed to suffer. He needed to suffer for us. So he refused that. So it's Friday morning, about the 3rd hour, we are told. The 3rd hour of the day. What time is that approximately in our day? What time will we compare that to us now? The 3rd hour of the day. Kenton? 9 o'clock. The first hour of the day would be when we wake, around 6 o'clock, when the sun comes up. That's the first hour. Or actually, 0 hour. The first hour would be right after that, 7 and 8. 9 o'clock is the 3rd hour. The 6th hour is noon. The 9th hour is 3 in the afternoon. Okay? And so on and so forth. So we have that. Jesus is put up there at about the 3rd hour of the day. Okay? So, to do a little jumping around here. But what does Jesus say about these men? He says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So you can put that down there as a crossword. Okay? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. These soldiers, they don't understand what they're doing, how they're fulfilling the Scriptures. They're probably foul-mouthed men, full of cursings and swearings for Jesus. They care nothing about these Jews. They're from Rome. They're Roman soldiers. Okay. Now, skip to Matthew chapter 27. Verse 39. So now, there is Jesus on the cross. We see before that the sign in verse 37 here also written. Tells about the one thief on the left hand and the one on the right. Verse 39 of chapter 27. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads. What does it mean to revile? What's another word we could translate that as? Or put in place? Jennifer? Yeah, they mocked him. They made fun of him. They reviled him. They mocked him as they were going to Jerusalem for the Passover feast. They're going there and they're passing by. They reviled him, wagging their heads and saying, Thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the Son of God, come down from the cross. Here have been all these people, I don't know if it's the same group of people, clamoring for Jesus to do miracles and wonders, bringing out the sick and the lame and the blind in the street so that as he passed by he could heal them. Now some are already making fun of him. Well, if you be the Son of God like you said you were, why don't you get yourself down off that cross? If you can do all these great miracles and wonders, maybe it was just all hocus pocus that you were doing. Let's see you do something real now. Because if you do that, then of course we would believe. They're taunting him. They're making fun. Wagging their heads. Okay? You said, destroy this temple, you could build it again in 3 days. Well, if you can do that, again, they're missing the picture there. Why don't you bring yourself down off the cross? Likewise, verse 41, also the chief priests mocking him with the scribes and the others said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe he trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the Son of God. Oh, he said he's the Son of God. Won't God come to his aid and his rescue here? But that's not the case. They won't. So the thieves also which were crucified with him cast the same in his teeth. So the two thieves as well begin to mock and make fun of him. Okay. While the thief was spitting out those words, if we skip to Luke chapter 23, go back there, Luke chapter 23. There we go to verses 40. Through 42. Okay. And verse 39. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be the Christ, save thyself and us. Get yourself down. And hey, by the way, can you save us as well? Verse 40. But the other answered and rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing that thou art in the same condemnation? Don't you Fear God, you're in the same position this man is. He's on the cross and you're on the cross. Verse 41, and we indeed justly, this thief confesses, we deserve to be up here, you fool. Speaking to the other thief. We deserve to be this man. Verse 41, continuing on, for we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man hath done nothing amiss. He confesses that Jesus has done nothing wrong. He doesn't deserve to be up on this cross. No, not one bit. Jesus deserves to be down. And then he turns to Jesus and says, Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And then that most beautiful answer, verily, verily, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. You can put that down there for the second crossword. Okay. Jesus says those words. Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. Okay. Okay, and now let's jump to John chapter 19 again. Go to John chapter 19. We'll see a few more crosswords of Jesus here. Verse 25 through 27, chapter 19 of the book of John. Now there stood by the cross, so these are people all standing around. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. And Jesus, when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciples standing by whom he loved, who would that be? What disciple was that? Grant? What's your guess? Well, just one, because it just says the disciple. Nope. Try again. Nope, try again. Yeah, now you got it. Hit it before strike three, huh? So, and the disciple standing by whom he loved, he saith unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. So that's his third crossword. His fourth crossword, then he said to the disciple, Behold thy mother. Okay. And from that hour, that disciple took her unto his own home. He called her not woman, or he called her woman, not mother, because his earthly physical ties are about to be severed. Just like Jesus is Lord of David, yes, physically he came from the line of David, those ties are going to be severed, and he is still David's Lord as well. Well, same thing here. Jesus is not only the Son of Mary, but also her Lord, because he saves her from her sins. So he's ending the earthly physical tie and calls her woman. Okay? To John he says, Behold thy mother. And she cares for, or he cares for her. Jesus knows he's got brothers too that should care for him, but John will care for her in a very special way. So we see that there. Jesus is getting close to the end of his life. So he says those things while on the cross. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. They're crucifying him. Okay. Verily I say unto thee, today thou shalt be with me in paradise. Beautiful words for that man on the cross. This sinner, in the hours before he dies, is saved by Jesus. And then we get a third and fourth word. Woman, behold thy son. Behold thy mother. So that's where we'll stop. We'll continue. We'll see what happens. So basically what we've covered is from the third hour until just before the sixth hour. Okay, that hour of darkness. We'll see that on Monday.